Welcome to Real Talks with Pinks. Thank you so much for joining us. We've been seeing the love on the channel. Please keep sharing, liking, commenting on the channel. So today I have Mannana on the show. I'm going to ask her to introduce herself and then I will tell you the topic of the day. Ne?
Thank you for having me on the show, Pinks. It's an honor. It's my pleasure to be with you. I am Mannana, original Sotobane, but now after marriage, Mannana Phalatse. I'm a mother of two beautiful girls.
Beautiful girls. Yes. I agree. Thank you so much. I'll call you Mannana.
Yes, that's fine.
Okay. So guys, our topic for the day is how my disability is not my inability. So let's start off by asking Mannana, were you born in a wheelchair, or tell us about your journey?
No, I wasn't born in a wheelchair. I was actually born just like anybody else, but then when I was doing my Form D around the age of 16, I had a car accident, and then I had a spinal cord injury as a result of the accident. Then that is how I got to sit on the wheelchair.
When you were 16?
Yes.
Oh my word.
That's when I was doing Form D, so I had to finish off my Form E then. Already in a wheelchair.
How did you feel when the doctor probably said there's a chance that you'll probably be in a wheelchair for a while? Because sometimes they say you might recover, sometimes they say you might not recover.
Mm-hmm. Obviously, it was devastating. They didn't even give me any false hope. They told me right away that this is it. You are going to be in a wheelchair permanently. You have lost your mobility because of the spinal cord injury. Yeah, it was a game changer for me, obviously, because there was a lot of adjustment I had to do. I had to relearn how to live my new life now. And going back to school as well. I used to be there at St. Stephen's for 4 years already, and I was familiar with the grounds, but coming back in a wheelchair to do my Form E was a totally different story, because that is when you get to realize that this is not a friendly place after all. I had to really adjust.
Yes. Yeah. I want to touch on that. Mm-hmm. Everyone who's watching and who lives in Lesotho, we know that we have infrastructure issues. A lot of people living with disability, in particular, people who are on wheelchairs, can't access certain buildings. So in my previous job, just for viewers, I used to work with Mannana in the same building, and there's like on the 8th floor, and I used to see her just get on the lift, and she looked so independent. No one was pushing her, and I was just like, this is quite interesting. How does she do it? So how do you deal with the challenges of mobility issues and all the buildings that are not accessible and wheelchair friendly?
Yeah, coming or living in a small and developing country like ours is really a challenge for people with disabilities. And not just those in a wheelchair, but since I have the experience of being in a wheelchair, probably that's the one that I get to experience every day. It's a challenge accessing most government services or just some entertainment spaces. Most people, when they plan, they don't really think about making the building accommodative for people with disabilities. You go everywhere, you'll find either the building does not have the elevator, or it has the stairs. There are no ramps to most buildings, and that really becomes a challenge. Even when you are looking for a job as someone with a disability, that's probably one of the key things that will key deciders of whether you will end up being employed in a particular place or not. Because most of the time you'll find that employers are not even necessarily willing to bear the additional cost of doing the renovations to accommodate somebody with a disability. So it's really challenging, and it even becomes more challenging when you come back after you have had the exposure of being in developed countries where mobility for people with disabilities is really taken care of. I used to live overseas for like 2 years, and those were probably the best years of my life in terms of accessing pretty much everywhere. I could go to the beach, I could just catch a tram on my own or a train on my own and just do my thing. But here back home, every time you have to really think and plan ahead to say, okay, I'm going to this place, it's not accessible, who can I get to help me get there and stuff like that. So it's a big issue. But I think you just need to be patient and patiently advocate for more accessibility for people with wheelchairs. I've had an opportunity to talk to some people, especially around the accommodation establishments like the hotels, the guest houses, and some of them gradually you see them appreciating and being willing to make the changes. I think I can talk about 4 places now who, after engaging the management of the facility, they have really done the renovations to make them more accommodative for people with disability.
Okay, I'm so glad that someone listened to you and they were able to change things. And I hope more people are watching, they could change the buildings and make them with ramps. Let's get on to your career. You are one of the most inspirational women I know. Before you even get to studying abroad, I want you to talk about about your career journey, what you studied, and you went further to study abroad, and you came back to work in Lesotho, and you climbed the ladder. Just tell us about that journey.
Okay, thank you. Immediately after my accident, I went back to St. Stephen's to finish off my high school. Then I went to the University of Lesotho to do my undergraduate. I did undergraduate in economics, BA economics with a minor in statistics. It was also slightly challenging, even from the family side, for my parents to agree to let me go to university. It was one of those difficult decisions for them. They wouldn't let go because they were worried about how I would cope away from home, but by God's grace, I managed to do all those 4 years at the NUL, and I graduated in 2001. 2002, then I started working at the Lesotho Revenue Authority. I stayed with them for 5 years, and I think I enjoyed my stay with the LRA as well. Perhaps I should say throughout my career, I think I have been privileged in the sense that I feel like I almost all the time get to do the things that I like. So when I was in LRA, I was there working in the economic unit, and we used to do the most amazing analysis, and we used to probably come up with some of the policy changes. I was in the background of the most changes in the tax policy that most people see.
Okay.
I would be in the research team at the back of those decisions, coming up with data to show them the impact, the evidence of what this policy change would do. I remember at one point I worked on the team that was doing the analysis for reducing the income tax rate from, at that time it was 25%, and we were advocating for it to be reduced to 22%.
Okay.
And we had to provide the evidence just to show the impact that you're not going to lose and stuff like that. So
okay.
Those were like some of the coolest stuff that I got to be part of. And when you see that being implemented and you see people enjoying the tax reduction, you're like, I was the brain behind.
Okay. Amazing.
Behind that thing. So I left after 5 years, and then I worked at the US Embassy for another 5 years as well. I was the economic specialist there as well. So I was like the economic brain behind the front office. We call the ambassador's office the front office of the embassy. So anything economic related, the ambassador had to come and say, what do you think about this? What's your advice on this thing? And I had to be that person who would think, try to see what would be the implications of this and advise the front office and tell them maybe this one will not work. I got to be the contact person for the African Growth and Opportunity Act in Lesotho and be that liaison between the government of Lesotho and the government of the US, advising the government of Lesotho that this is how you can take advantage of this program to help our manufacturers export more stuff to the US.
Okay.
So that was another fulfilling time in my career. And during that time, I did my honors with the University of Free State. I changed the focus slightly because I focused on financial economics and banking.
And this was part-time?
Yes, I was studying part-time and I completed that. And at the end of in the middle of 2014, then I left the US Embassy and I went to work for the Lesotho Millennium Development Agency. I was recruited as the lead economist on the team that was developing the second compact for Lesotho under MCC funding. And again there, I had that privilege of being the one, being part of that team that is deciding or sort of helping the country decide where should the US government invest in Lesotho. So it's a privilege when you see the results of those things that go in the background.
Actually,
it's a lot of work and sometimes it's stressful, it's challenging, but at the end of the day, when you see Lesotho benefiting as a result of those sleepless nights, you're like, it was worth it.
It was worth it.
It was worth it at the end of the day. So that is who I am. I worked for them probably for 10 months at that point and then left to do my master's in Australia. So I was in Australia for 2 years to do my master's in international trade and development. So now I'm a development economist. It's something that I'm very passionate about. Yeah.
Oh my God.
And I'm back. When I came back, I worked for the Ministry of Development Planning shortly as a consultant. They called me an economic advisor when we were developing the second National Strategic Development Plan. And that was another proud moment for me in the sense that I know that I was helping Lesotho get to decide where do we want to focus for the next 5 years as a country so that we can develop. And then after those 5 months, I went to Central Bank. I stayed shortly. I was the head of division, responsible for managing the foreign exchange reserves in the country. And then during that time, as I was still trying to enjoy what I was doing, then I was called back to LMDA to be the economist again. So that is where I am right now. And we are probably getting closer towards finishing the development of the second compact. And we are hopeful that Lesotho will get to benefit. It's going to be a transformational program for our country, just like the first one. Thank you.
Wow. Thank you, Mannana, for telling us about this. I don't want to delve too long into your experience of studying abroad. I just want you to say in 2 minutes before we talk about your family life and close, what led you to studying abroad and how was it like the experience of studying abroad as someone in a wheelchair?
What led me to study abroad? Probably my curiosity. I'm a dreamer. That's what I even told my parents when they were like, no, you can't go back to university because now you're in a wheelchair. I'm like, okay. I'm a dreamer. It will not be me just sitting here outside in the sun. So one of my dreams was just to travel, see the world. And then I saw studying as one of those opportunities to go and see the world. So I took advantage and applied for that scholarship. I had tried many others before and I still couldn't get them. But fortunately, the Australians gave me the scholarship, and it was one of the most amazing experiences, I guess. Both in terms of how comprehensive the scholarship program was, in terms of taking care of me as somebody with a disability. Because on top of the ordinary scholarship that every other scholar was getting, I had the additional support, like I had the carer, the program paying for a carer, somebody who would do my laundry, somebody who would just take care of my things, clean up my room, take me shopping if I needed somebody to carry stuff. So it was good in that sense. But also living abroad, it's amazing. The freedom of just going literally everywhere without limitations or without having to ask yourself if it will be accessible. In the middle of nowhere, you would find a wheelchair accessible restroom. That's something that you take for granted, only to find that when you are in Lesotho, it's a luxury just to have a restroom that can accommodate you as somebody in a wheelchair. But overseas, it's
amazing.
It's just you.
I know.
It's just you. You do your own thing. Yeah. So it was amazing. I think I was even glowing after.
Oh my word. Thank you for saying that. I just wanted you to say it for other people who may be smart like you and want to study abroad but are worried if they'll be able to cope. But then let's just talk about your family life and finding love before we can close off. I know you are married with 2 beautiful kids. Oh my word, he has just done the beautiful 2 kids. How did that come about? So many times people marvel at people who are in wheelchairs. When they start families, they ask, would they cope? How did that happen? You know that.
Yeah.
So can you just run us through that?
Yeah, it's one of those uncharted territories, I guess. And people frown when you tell them that you want to get married. When I told my parents, they were like, are you crazy? But I believe I had met the love of my life. So I wasn't even, there was no other option. I was going to get married. It was stressful. I think our Lobala negotiations took about 3 years just to demonstrate how difficult it was for them to accept that I was getting married. But at the end of the day, I got to marry him. It's 14 years now. So, and we are blessed with 2 amazing girls. I pinch myself every day to say, I'm their mom.
I know.
So they are probably my proudest achievement, I guess, my family. So I really, really thank God, and I don't take it for granted. It's not like I knew what I was doing or that I'm the smarter. I don't have anything figured out, but somehow we are able to make it. The girls are growing. They are becoming independent individuals that are challenging me every day to be a better person, to be a better mom. They are analytical. You can't just cheat them. They will hold you to the standard that you have set for them. So it's really amazing, and I am blessed. I consider myself blessed and honored to have them.
Yes. Thank you so much for sharing your story. Just in 1 minute, how can you encourage people without mobility or people on wheelchairs who may be feeling, I'm not privileged enough, I don't have education, how do I live my life in Lesotho?
As a word of encouragement to everybody with a disability, those in wheelchairs and other types of disability, I would say the first thing is to recognize that I have a disability. Therefore, you need to tell yourself that I cannot change the direction of the wind. I have the disability, that's it. But I can definitely change my sails to reach my destination. So you just need to surround yourself with people who can help you. Keep on trusting God that you will make it, and then wake up every day with determination to live your life, to live out your dreams until you reach your destination. Thank you.
Thank you so much. It does show that nothing can prevent you from following your dreams. Thank you for coming to the show, Mannana. Your story is quite inspirational. Viewers, I hope you've been inspired like I have been. See you in the next episode. Bye for now.
Thank you.